3, 2,
We
1.
are now live on Facebook and YouTube.
I was saying hello to Instagram.
And Instagram.
Today, we're talking about keto and breastfeeding.
There's like a massive... You got to sit down, otherwise it looks like nobody's...
I asked you to take him.
All right, I'll take
Hello, everyone. Talking about keto and breastfeeding today. We got a little puppy dog running around down here.
Come here, Munch. Whoa.
Hello.
Rigel's going to lead this one.
Yeah, he probably
How
could.
do you like breastfeeding? Do you like the milk that comes from a ketogenic mother? Does it seem well formulated? Is it better than formula fed? Is it tastier?
He doesn't want to talk about it.
I guess not.
Not in the mood. All right. Well, I guess I'm going to get us started on here, and you guys...
Diesel?
Right, yeah. You guys are welcome to pop in with any questions, concerns, etc.
Real quick before we start, we have been working on a new keto brick formula. This one is specific to breastfeeding mothers. We've been thinking about names. We're going to call it the booby brick. What do we think about that? Do we like it? Booby brick?
This is not a real thing.
Not a real thing. All right.
It is not a real thing. We're not really.
Rigel likes it.
He's like, I like it. Okay. So I'm going to get us started on talking about this. Ask your questions, your concerns, your whatevers. Big old fat disclaimer. There is not enough actual scientific studies or literature or whatever on this subject. Everything that I'm speaking about will be just from my experience and those around me, as well as some of my clients, so on. So this is not medical advice. This is not telling you exactly what you should do or shouldn't do. It's going to be mostly us just sharing my experience, our experience. And yeah, so that's the big old fat disclaimer for now. So, all right, let's see where to start. I think with any breastfeeding journey, eating the ample amounts of food, proper amounts of proteins is going to be number one. Number two, your body will create the amount of carbs, fats, proteins, electrolytes that your child needs.
What's the matter?
It will pull from your body wherever it needs to get it from in order to fuel your child's health. So if you're low on calcium, it will pull from your teeth. It will pull from your bones. It will pull from all of these areas. If you are not having enough protein, it will also pull from your body. If you are not having enough energy sources, it will pull from your body. Wonderfully enough, your body can actually create all of the carbohydrates that you need to survive, and that also an infant feeding from your breasts can also use. So I could be on a carnivore, straight up meat, not consuming any carbs in my diet, and my child will still get carbs in their breast milk. So just know your body will create this. And if your body is giving this to your child and your body is not getting enough, you will create a deficit of those things. So a lot of times people will supplement, or you just need to eat like ample amounts of food. So that's going to be with any diet that you want to be eating plenty of, and your body's going to take it from you and give it to your milk so that your child has it. I would say I was ketogenic my entire pregnancy, and I was ketogenic going into breastfeeding as well. Been ketogenic my entire breastfeeding journey. That didn't carb load, nothing like that. I didn't need to, I didn't want to, and I felt great. I never had a dip in my supply, but I've always been one to eat plenty of food. And I think that's a really big thing, is that people oftentimes don't eat enough, especially moms. We get busy, we get on the go, we're sitting down feeding our babies, and we can't get up and go do all the things. If you have multiple kids, you are even busier, and it is hard to keep all of the balance. And give yourself the nutrients that you need, getting in all the workouts, doing all of the things. It's harder. It's just, you're busier, it's harder. But it is a huge thing that I think you should talk to your partner about prior to getting pregnant, prior to giving birth, is what's the plan of action? What's the plan of actions for my workouts? What's the plan of actions for my nutrition? Can your husband or spouse or whoever, can they make a meal for you? Can they make your breakfast for you? Can they make dinner for the family? Can they help you out or, parent on a Saturday so that you can have 3 hours to prep all the meals that you'll need for the week? Having a really reliable partner is really helpful, or an additional hand, a parent, a friend, a babysitter, a daycare, something like that, to help you get the nutrients and nutrition that you need for your body, but also for your child. And I think that goes for anyone. That this is not keto. Baba. This is not keto and breastfeeding specific. This is breastfeeding in general, but also on a ketogenic diet. I will say that any breastfeeding mom should have an increase in electrolytes, but I would say specifically ketogenic mothers. I used to get sick when I would take electrolytes. And when I had Rigel, I no longer started getting sick from electrolytes. I actually drink them on a regular basis now. And I think that has a lot to do with the fact that those electrolytes are going somewhere. They're being used. Maybe my gut changed. I'm not really sure. But I always did plenty. And I feel like that really helped keep my energy levels up. He's taking electrolytes. I'm taking electrolytes to take electrolytes for both of us. I did a hair strand test at 6 months postpartum, and everything looked really great. I did a video on this if you guys want to watch the results and everything of that. Everything looks really great. My calcium was low, so I started taking a supplement of calcium from the Naturally Nourished line at Allie Miller's. So I started taking that, and it was slightly low on electrolytes, so I actually boosted that up a little bit. And I think that is really common for a lot of breastfeeding moms, but specifically on keto, just because you don't really hold on to those electrolytes as much. What else on this? Rigel has been breastfed since the very beginning, and he is very healthy. He's grown really well. He's very tall, and
he's in the 99th percentile in all growth metrics.
Yeah, he is definitely well taken care of. He also loves his food, but we did not start introducing food until after he was 6 months old. So the first 6 months were 100% just my milk, and then after that we slowly started bringing in meats and veggies and things like that. But our doctor had zero concerns. The thing is, when people start to talk about a ketogenic diet and how it's not healthy for a mom who is pregnant or breastfeeding, I have to kind of fight them on that and say, what is wrong with it? Because it's a whole food diet. Whereas the average American is going to eat fast food, and they're going to eat Oreos and chips and this and that and the other. And what I have primarily stayed to is meat and vegetables with maybe a few added fats. So I don't think that there's anything wrong with eating a ketogenic diet because it is a whole food diet. I didn't have any concerns from any doctors, midwives, lactation consultants, anything like that. No one was concerned about me because they would say, how is your diet? And I say, oh, it's great. I eat a lot of meat and some vegetables and some extra little fats here and there. I like butter, and I put cream in my coffee and blah, 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 And they were like, oh, that's wonderful. So do you eat any like sweets or sodas? And I said, oh, I actually don't do any sugar. And they were like, oh, that's really great. And so it's just like, when you say I'm keto, it kind of gets people thinking like, oh, that's unhealthy. But when you really break down what keto is a whole food diet of meat and vegetables and some added healthy fats. No sugar. Like people, doctors, physicians, midwives, lactation consultants, like they're all on that train. They're all excited when you break it down that way versus saying, I'm actually ketogenic and I'm on a high fat diet. I'm on a no carb diet or low carb or whatever. They don't like those harsh words or harsh tones. But when you really break down how you eat, it's received a lot better. So there's a little tip and trick there if you guys are wanting to be honest about your diet, but also word it in a way that people are not going to be defensive or hate you for.
I will add this. I don't have a whole lot of experience lactating, but I will say this. The caloric, a lot of people have questions about their caloric needs when pregnant or breastfeeding. And when you are pregnant, your caloric demands are not that elevated. They are elevated, but they're not, you're not feeding for two, as they say.
It's a few hundred calories more per trimester.
Yeah, you do not need to double your caloric intake in order to support a healthy pregnancy. Now, your caloric needs do increase significantly when breastfeeding, more so than they do when pregnant. So let that be known. If you are breastfeeding, you will likely need to increase your caloric intake to accompany that caloric demand, but also depending on what your goals are, you're probably not doing a competition prep if you're breastfeeding. So you shouldn't really be in a significant caloric deficit, but do realize that you will likely need to increase your intake if you're trying to maintain your current weight and preserve the lean tissue that you do have. So definitely take note of that.
That is another thing that people often ask me is, can I cut while I'm breastfeeding? And I have had clients who are several months postpartum. I don't love anyone doing any kind of cut, even before 18 months postpartum. But I have had clients that I have led through a cut, even like much less postpartum, like more 4, 5, 6 months. And pretty much it's because I feel like they're going to do it no matter what. And I would rather lead them in a more healthy option than them doing it on their own. And so I do kind of give them a heads up of like, hey, if anything starts to dip in your milk, we will not continue. We will stay there. We will reverse diet. We will do whatever we need to do, but I will not sacrifice your milk for your child before your weight loss. So that is the kind of like firm line I set with my clients. But I have not done a cut since I had Rigel. And I know that a lot of people are like, oh, I lost a ton of weight while breastfeeding. Oh, I didn't lose any weight while breastfeeding. Oh, I gained weight while breastfeeding. Mine was pretty much like consistent. Like I lost a little bit more weight in the beginning. You want to get him some more water? It's in the thing. I lost a bit of weight in the beginning, but that's simply because I lost a child. And I've stayed at about 5 or 10 pounds above here's some in here, I think, above my pre-pregnancy, which was not a goal. Like I didn't have a goal. My goal was have a healthy body, have a healthy baby, fuel my baby as best as I can. And also I should have disclaimed this in the beginning. I know not everyone has a wonderful breastfeeding journey. I know that it's really hard for some people. And nothing that I have to say is disregarding any of that. I want that to be clear. That again, I'm just sharing my journey and the things that I've seen from some of my clients. So anyways, I don't suggest doing a cut. I have been a little bit uncomfortable with the way that I look since having Rigel, but I have refused to do a cut because I didn't want to sacrifice my health or my milk supply dipping at all, if that makes sense. So yes, it is a little bit of a sacrifice and it can be. And some people specifically stop breastfeeding because they want to lose the weight. And that's okay. They are going to do their own thing. But this was kind of my priority. And I think it's what my body was created to do. And I want to give everything that I can, so.
Boom, chakalaka.
That cute little hug.
Let's dive into some of these questions.
Okay.
MC says, have you ever taken Fedosia agrestis on keto. Know you've taken Tongat Ali, and some people stack these two. Yes, it's a very popular stack. No, I have not taken the Fedosia. I'm honestly not taking the Tongat right now. I ran out. I need to get some more. But I have not stacked them. That is a very popular stack. Huberman talks about it a lot on his podcast. I think they sell it on the Momentous brand supplement site, and I'm pretty sure it's reputable, but I have not stacked it myself, so I can't speak from experience on that one.
Shane says, "What's up?
What's up, man?" Michael Dennehy says, how does the manner in which you cook meat impact the protein availability and uptake? Does a rare steak have advantages over a well-done steak in terms of availability and uptake? Great question. So it's interesting. If you look at, like, if you char your steaks, that's technically carcinogenic, like that char on there, which I love a good crust on my steak. But there's compelling evidence that if you are eating a ton of charred meat, that has a carcinogenic effect, not the meat itself, but the actual charring of it. So you probably don't want to be doing that on a too regular basis. You definitely don't want to do a super well done steak because that tastes gross anyways. As far as the bioavailability goes, I would imagine, and there's kind of conflicting information on this, but I personally would opt for more on the rare side for meat. Now it's interesting because some foods actually become more bioavailable when you cook them more, like vegetables, for instance. Plants have a cell wall, and if you're eating them raw, a lot of that's not going to be digested. So with plants, you actually benefit from cooking them more. With a lot of tubers, you can't absorb them at all unless you cook them. A lot of beans and legumes are like that. With meat, I tend to opt for the more rare side than the more cooked side. What I've really been enjoying lately is I'll be eating ground meat of different varieties, lamb, beef, venison, and I'll pretty much just make them into burger patties, and then I'll sear both sides on a cast iron skillet, but the interior is pretty much completely raw, and I've really enjoyed that. Now, another caveat on eating raw meat, you have to know where your food's coming from. If you're eating, I wouldn't recommend eating raw food that you get from like Costco or Sam's Club, because a lot of the issues with food poisoning come from the processing component, not so much the meat itself, but the actual processing that takes place if it wasn't prepared or processed with clean utensils, clean equipment. That's where a lot of these foodborne illnesses come from. All of my meat, I know where it's come from. I've harvested a lot myself. I've done the processing, so I'm not really too worried in that regard. But if you're going to eat meat that's on the raw side or the rare side, definitely try and prioritize sourcing it from a quality, reputable place.
Also, I will say the longer it, the more cooked a steak or beef or whatever is, the harder it can be on your stomach too. So it's a little bit harder to digest.
Yeah. Histamines are also another thing. Like a lot of foods that are really high in histamines, which is going to be oftentimes your preserved meats. So like your sausages, your jerkies, your cured meats. Those are oftentimes going to have higher histamine content, and some people do not do well with that at all. If you're really sensitive to histamines, then you're probably going to opt for stuff that's on the more fresh, rare side of the spectrum, without a doubt.
Greg said, hey, and that was it. That was it.
We got no questions. We got time still, so throw some questions our way if you've got any questions. It doesn't have to be about keto or breastfeeding. It can be about anything.
If I'm salting my food with 2 pinches of pink Himalayan salt, do I need to take an electrolyte still?
Yeah, 2 pinches is not very much. I am doing 2.5 to 3 grams of salt on my food. 1/4 teaspoon of red mineral salt has about 530 milligrams of sodium, but I'm also doing 3 element packets a day, 2 Within You brand electrolyte packets a day. Like I'm doing about 8 to 10,000 milligrams of sodium a day. 2 pinches of salt in total. I don't know how many times you're doing that through your meals, but 2 pinches of salt is not going to provide very much on the sodium front.
Yeah. But also electrolytes include potassium, magnesium, chloride, things like that. So you are not really going to get very much of that in your salt.
Yeah. Now you're going to have some potassium like in your foods, like avocado is a great source of potassium. Pork loin is a tremendous source of potassium. Lots of meats have potassium in it, but I generally recommend about a 2-to-1 ratio of supplemental sodium to potassium. So that which you are adding supplementally, whether it's through salt, an electrolyte drink, or formula of some form, targeting about a 2-to-1 ratio of sodium to potassium works pretty good.
I will say I was one of those people before that was like, I don't need electrolytes, and I like never took electrolytes for like years. And then honestly, it took me getting pregnant and to actually make me take extra electrolytes. And I think I honestly feel so much better now. And it's not even like that I was low in electrolytes. It was just like I now have plenty to go from. You want your turn? To go from. Oh, okay, just kidding. But I feel like it gives me like a little bit of extra like energy boost. I just feel like everything is like optimal now instead of like just fine, you know? So you can always try to increase your electrolytes and see how you feel. And if you feel a lot better, then like start increasing a little bit more on the regular. He's copying me right now. It's hilarious.
James Miller says, cool haircut. Thanks,
Quit
James.
it, people. Quit it.
Edward says, this is perfect. You're online. I was sick, and your latest video popped up. It was the weirdest timing. I was in bed for 4 days and fasted for the last 2 days. I feel flat and very dehydrated. I was going to get the ball rolling by going to the gym and getting my calories back to maintenance. Thank you for latest video. It came at the perfect time. Well, I am certainly glad to hear that. Yeah, definitely. Unless, and like I said in that video, unless you've got some kind of sickness as a result of GI distress from foods that you're eating, then I tend to recommend not fasting when sick because you need that fuel to recover.
I tend to feel good when I do what I call a salt shot, half a teaspoon of salt in water every day.
There you go.
You said you are eating 40 ounces of beef for dinner. How soon before bed is this? And do you not get overly thirsty with that much protein?
No, it doesn't really affect my thirst at all. It just kind of depends how much salt I put on it. And then as far as timing before bed, like I haven't eaten that yet today. We'll go home. It's 5:20 now.
Probably like 3 hours before bed, right?
We'll probably eat at 6:30, and then we'll probably be in bed by 9.
Yeah, 2.5, 3 hours before bed.
Yeah, that's pretty typical.
Thanks. Thanks, y'all. Love y'all's videos.
Well, appreciate you, brother. Love your shop, by the way. He just built a massive shop. I'm jealous.
Oh, yeah, I bet you are.
Super jealous. Y'all want to see the puppy real quick? Y'all want to see the puppy? Where'd he go?
Probably eating something.
Where you at, Diesel?
I did say earlier today, I was like, if you are a toddler parent and you want to, for a second, think that your child is an angel, get a puppy. Because your toddler will appear to be an angel. Here he is. Cutie little Diesel.
Oh, Diesel.
Oh, so cute.
Here's the Diesel.
Are you still training full body is the question over here.
Yes, I'm still training full body. I will continue full body until my reverse diet is officially done, which will probably be in another 3 or 4 weeks. And then I may switch to a body part split, or I may continue to do full body and just mix it up a little bit more. I've really enjoyed the full body. I've got no complaints with it at all. It's been really good for me. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Edward said something here. Also, when is the perfect time to check your ketone and glucose levels after you eat? Is the Keto Mojo better than the other devices you have? So if you're trying to test to see how a specific food item or meal impacts your blood sugar and ketones, I would recommend testing 20 to 30 minutes after, and then probably an hour after, and then 2 hours after to see what kind of effect postprandially that has on your blood sugar and ketone levels. That should be totally sufficient. They should normalize if you're insulin sensitive, and you shouldn't continue to have elevated blood sugar. But if you're eating keto, you're probably not gonna have super elevated blood sugar anyways. But yeah, I would recommend that. As far as the devices go, I'm using the Keto Mojo currently. I've used several of them. The Keto Mojo has been pretty good. Honestly, I really like that it syncs with my phone. I like that it it just syncs with everything. It just works. Like it's got consistent readings. It's got the ability to test blood ketones and glucose with the same device. And I feel like it's pretty accurate. So I've been a fan of the Keto Mojo thus far.
My husband has issues with protein raising his blood sugar. Any advice?
Yes, protein can certainly raise one's blood sugar. You can overdo protein. Like there's a lot of talk out there about you can't overdo protein.
Right.
Gluconeogenesis is demand driven, not supply driven. But if you're trying to optimize for fat metabolism, there is a point of diminishing return for the increasing protein. Like I'm all for protein. People need to eat a lot of protein, but you don't need to eat so much so that it starts to have a diminishing, effect.
Yeah, you can always increase the fat with that meal, or maybe try to spread the protein out. Like, so if they're doing OMAD or even 2 meals a day, you can try and spread those meals out a little bit more and see if that helps. But then maybe adding a little bit more fat in that meal to kind of help blunt that.
Slow the absorption of the protein. You don't want to have like protein in pure isolation. Like I wouldn't recommend a protein isolate without a fat source.
Right.
Okay. Now, what is a harmful effect? Anything over 100 glucose? What's the rule of thumb? It kind of depends. Like everybody's gonna have a different baseline. You don't want it to be like mine will go up to 130 when I'm training. Like I'll have an elevation in blood glucose intra workout, which is totally normal. It's a physiological response to the training, but then it goes back down to below 100 shortly thereafter.
Or even like going in the sauna or something like that.
Yeah, stress will cause it to elevate.
Yeah.
You just don't want to see elevated blood sugar, especially fast. Like you don't want to eat a meal, have it bump up. If you're eating keto, it probably should never bump up above 100 even with the meal. But if you're eating carbs and it bumps up to 120, 130, 140, 150, it should drop down relatively quickly from that. You shouldn't have elevated blood sugar for hours on end after a meal. What are the doggy stats, breed, age? So great to see the entire family. So Diesel is a Cane Corso. He is about 7 weeks old now. He probably weighs 14 pounds at this point. And he's awesome. He's super cute. We love him.
We have a video coming out on our YouTube channel on Monday, kind of talking about him and such.
Yeah. Appreciate your advice, by the way. You are always helpful. Thank you so much for that. We love the questions and we love helping. So keep the questions coming. So cute. Thank you. I've been working on this look for a while now. I appreciate it. Oh, you might be talking about Rigel, the dog, or Crystal. Probably.
Pretty sure it's Diesel.
Goal is 218 by June. I'm at 3,800 a day and still pulling 0.4 ketones and 90 or less glucose in the AM. You're damn good at your job. Got 7 pounds to go. I got no doubt you do it, man. I'm going to be gearing up for our Western hunting soon as well. I need to get me a rucksack and start putting in the miles in the mountains so I can keep up with you, brother. By the way, Michael, who's been on here, he and I are speaking at the White Oak Pastures seminar. Roots of Regeneration? Roots to Regeneration? I think Roots of Regeneration. But definitely check that out if you're in the Georgia area. It's going to be amazing. It is the 14th, 15th, 16th of March. Do you not like MyFitnessPal? You talk about other meal trackers, but never. Woo! No, I use my Macros Plus, and I'm also starting to play around with Chronometer. I've heard it pronounced a million different ways. MyFitnessPal is just like there's all the ads, and then you gotta like pay $60 a year if you want to get it ad free.
Yeah, and I don't know if they're the same way or not, but when I used to use MyFitnessPal, they wouldn't let me put in my own macros. Does it let you do that now? Maybe if you pay.
For the paid version, yeah.
Yeah, maybe I was just cheap and didn't want to pay for it.
6'1", 190 pounds, 54 years, 20% body fat, carnivore for about a year and a half, down 100 pounds. I've stalled out. Currently reading your book and following a 20 protein, 80% fat ratio. Love your content. Well, congrats. That's freaking awesome. Definitely try that. Go through the book protocol. See if that can break that stall. I'm not sure how long you've been dieting, but you may be a great candidate for reverse dieting. You will be a great candidate for reverse dieting after your cut. So definitely make sure you do that. But that's freaking awesome. What kind of seasoning do you use on your meats? How much salt do you try and get daily? Thanks. So I'm doing about 8,000 to 9,000 milligrams of sodium, not salt, but sodium. As far as seasoning goes, I really keep it simple, like salt and pepper. But if I use a seasoning, I really, really, really like the Pluck seasoning. which is an Oregon blend seasoning. It tastes delicious. They've
It
got
is
several
really
different
good.
flavors. So I would
They have a
recommend
garlic
that.
one in the garlic one.
They've got all-purpose,
Zesty garlic or something like that. I
spicy.
really like it.
Yeah, Pluck is the bomb. All right, ladies and gents. Tanya, how you doing? She messaged and said that she's got a similar breed dog as ours, and she loves them.
I know.
So
I watched her. I watched all of her stuff.
yeah. All right, y'all. We are gonna go home and get some food in us. Check on our sheep, and rock out the rest of the day. So appreciate y'all for tuning in. Much love to every single one of y'all. Thanks for the questions. What's the topic for next week?
I don't know. We have a few to choose from.
Where can they message with questions?
Live Savage DM.
Live Savage DM. Hit us up with some questions
On
for next
Instagram.
week on IG. Ta-ta for now, y'all. Much love.
See ya.